I'm going to give you a very quick overview of District 9 just to get you started. Okay, this is an introduction so that you know what you're going to be looking at. So District 9, directed by Neil Blomkamp and released in 2009 and produced by Peter Jackson, who you might know from Lord of the Rings films. It stars Sharlto Copley as Vickers van der Merwe, and this is Sharlto Copley's first ever film. It had a budget of $30 million, which is quite a lot of money by any standards, and this film ended up being nominated for Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay Academy Awards. This film came out of nowhere at the time and blew people away. It was a very significant film in its time. So why should we study this? Well, through your study of District 9, you're going to be able to discuss really obvious film techniques and how they convey meaning. Sometimes when we study film, the techniques can be a little bit too subtle and really hard to work with. In this film, they're really obvious, and you'll be able to really sharpen your understandings of film technique and how that conveys meaning. You'll be able to discuss how films become ways to explore complex real-world issues, and you're going to be able to make connections to your own viewing of films, television shows, and video games. So what kind of exam questions could you be preparing for? Well, here's a sampling of some past exam questions for the Year 11 ATAR course. You're going to explore how the first one here is explore how you have been positioned to view or consider one text you have studied in a particular way. A really good go-to question for this film. Discuss why one text you have studied represents people in a challenging or unexpected manner. Or another question that would be really relevant with this film is explain how the stylistic features of at least one text you have studied helped communicate particular ideas or perspectives. Now, that idea of stylistic features is going to be really important, but we also need to consider the context of the film. Now, the film was made in South Africa 15 years after the end of apartheid. If you don't know much about apartheid, look it up on YouTube. There's some really good overviews there to really understand what that meant in South Africa from 1948 through to 1994 and the ongoing effects after that. The title of the film is a reference to District 6, which is an area in Cape Town where 60,000 black residents were forcibly removed, and the area was made a whites-only zone in the 1960s. Now, the film was made because its director came to the attention of Peter Jackson, who I mentioned earlier. He was the director of Lord of the Rings. He's a big deal, and he's seen his short film work. That's a short film work of Neil Blomkamp. And that included this one, Alive in Joburg. Look it up on YouTube, it's there, it's under 10 minutes long, and you'll see that that film Alive in Joburg was the inspiration or the starting point for District 9. Given $30 million, he took Alive in Joburg and made it into a feature film. Now you're going to have to really get your head around this documentary style stuff. When we talk about stylistic features, here's something you can write half an exam question on. There's numerous film techniques that belong to the documentary genre, and here are a few that apply to District 9. We have the use of CCTV and news footage. That's a key part of this film. Interviews with key people, and we can see here on the screen, one of those screenshots, an interview with Vickers van der Merwe, and you've got there the text that's on there that signifies that it's documentary style filmmaking. There's on-the-ground handheld camera as if it's a journalist following the action. And we have characters speaking to and acknowledging the camera. That really doesn't happen in narrative film unless it's some kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke being used, or in what they call in drama, breaking the fourth wall. Now, keep in mind that the footage is stylized to create the illusion of the documentary style. The documentary style allows for the dumping of information by efficiently giving all the exposition. In the first 6 minutes of the film, we get 30 years of background through this documentary style to bring the audience up to speed before we can start on this journey of Vickers van der Merwe and the film proper. It disrupts the fantasy that's inherent. That's the documentary style disrupts this fantasy that we often see in sci-fi films. We get taken away to a world and we suspend our disbelief. This documentary style grounds this in a world that is familiar to us, gives this illusion of reality. But the film doesn't sustain the documentary style throughout, and some critics have had a go at the film for that. It shifts to an omniscient camera that provides multiple points of view and follows Vickers' transition into prawn, as they're called in the film. This is really important because there is a shift in the filmmaking technique. Really good thing to be able to talk about, and you'll be able to see in this film, in one film, the contrast between documentary style filmmaking and conventional narrative filmmaking. So I hope that's given you a bit of an understanding so that when you go into District 9, if you watch it for the first time or you watch it for the second time, you can start thinking about it in terms of how it was constructed and how it was created through the imagination of its filmmakers. Good luck, and hopefully this helps.